Today, I want to tell you a story from Pakistan about two brothers. A story so disturbing that my heart sank when I first heard it. It sent chills down my spine and made me question just how far a human being can go in their cruelty. And I promise you, once you hear this story, your soul will tremble too. You'll be left wondering how something this horrifying could even happen. But before we dive into the story, please take a moment.
Before you get lost in the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so we can stay best buddies forever. All right, let's jump right in.
The story begins in 2011 in a small town called Darya Khan, located about 200 kilometers from Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. This is where the two brothers lived, one named Muhammad Farman Ali and the other Muhammad Arif Ali. Both were between 30 and 35 years old, with a 4-year age gap between them. They were married and had children, but the family lived in poverty. Darya Khan was surrounded by several other low-income settlements. Farman Ali was reportedly quite intelligent in school, but he only studied up to the 10th grade before dropping out. By 2010, both of their wives had left them, taking their children along. When asked why, the women revealed that their husbands were extremely abusive. The strangest part was that the brothers would often disappear for several days and never held down a steady job. Their behavior and irresponsibility were what ultimately drove their wives away. Then, in April 2011, something happened that became the talk of the entire nation within 24 hours. In the Bakr district where the brothers lived, there was a local cemetery. That day, a 24-year-old woman named Sarah Perveen was buried there. She had tragically passed away due to cancer. After the funeral, her family left the cemetery, but when they returned the next day, they saw something that shocked them to the core. It was clear that the grave had been disturbed. Someone had tampered with it. Worried, the family decided to dig up the grave. What they discovered made their blood run cold. Sarah's body was missing. They immediately contacted the police, and within hours, the news had spread like wildfire across Pakistan. There had already been a previous incident where a corpse was exhumed and sexually assaulted, and someone had been arrested for it. So, when news of this new case broke, the public quickly connected it to that earlier crime, which only fueled their anger and frustration with the police. The pressure on law enforcement grew, and they launched a serious investigation into the matter. Officers began questioning people living near the cemetery. That's when a new lead emerged. A local man informed the police that he had repeatedly seen someone loitering near the cemetery, and also claimed that strange black magic rituals were being performed at that person's home. Acting on this tip, a police team accompanied by an inspector went to investigate. The house in question belonged to the two brothers, Farman Ali and Arif Ali, who lived there with their parents and a sister. The police began searching the house but didn't initially find anything suspicious. Then they noticed a locked room. When asked about it, Farman explained that it belonged to Arif, who wasn't home at the time. The police took the key from him and opened the door, and what they found inside left them stunned. In the middle of the room sat a large cooking pot containing what looked like cooked meat. At first, the officers tried to ignore it, but next to the pot were a wooden cutting board, a small axe, and a knife, all with bits of raw meat stuck to them. The inspector's eyes then followed a trail of ants on the floor, leading under a nearby bed. When they looked underneath, they found a sack. At the inspector's command, the sack was pulled out and opened, and inside was the body of 24-year-old Sarah Perveen, the young woman who had been buried in the cemetery just the day before. One of her legs had been severed, and it was clear that the cooked meat in the pot had come from her body. The officers were horrified. It became clear that the two brothers had exhumed her body and not only assaulted her corpse, but also cannibalized her. The cooked meat in the pot, and the pieces stuck to the utensils, were all from her mutilated remains. The wooden cutting board, knife, and axe all had pieces of raw meat stuck to them. Soon after, Arif, who had been away from the house, was also arrested. During interrogation, he confessed that his older brother Farman had cooked the meat, which they had dug up from a grave. When the pot was sent to a forensic lab in Multan for testing, it was confirmed that the meat was indeed human flesh. As soon as this horrifying news spread among the locals, outrage erupted. The entire neighborhood surrounded the brothers' house in shock and anger upon realizing that two cannibals had been living among them, people who had been exhuming corpses and eating human flesh. What came next shocked the nation even more. During questioning in jail, the brothers made a horrifying confession. They had eaten more than 100 corpses. When asked why, they explained that a black magic practitioner had told them that eating human flesh would bring an end to all their miseries. They admitted that they didn't have the courage to kill a living person. So instead, they began closely watching the cemetery. Whenever someone was buried, they would return later, dig up the body, take it home, cook the meat, and eat it. When police brought the two to court, public outrage had already reached its peak. Angry crowds blocked traffic and demanded that the brothers be handed over to them. But the nightmare didn't end there. Shockingly, the court found that there was no specific law under which these acts could be adequately prosecuted. No legal section covered cannibalism. In the end, both brothers were sentenced to just 2 years in prison for desecration of corpses. After serving their sentences, both men were released in 2013. When they returned to their home, the community erupted in protest. The police had to provide them with security, and eventually they were forced to relocate. For the next year, their whereabouts remained unknown. Police had advised them to keep their identities hidden to avoid retaliation. But in April of the following year, police received a disturbing call. Someone complained about a foul smell coming from a nearby house. Officers arrived on the scene with local elders, but none of the neighbors knew who lived in the house. When the police entered, they found Arif inside. A search of the home turned up nothing at first, but then they found a room with a large padlock. When they unlocked it, what they saw stunned them. In the center of the room was the severed head of a child. Arif was immediately arrested. Upon interrogation, he admitted that the head belonged to a recently deceased child from the neighborhood, whose body he had exhumed and brought home. He also confessed to having consumed the body, along with several others. The two brothers were brought back to court. Shockingly, it became clear that even after serving 2 years in prison, their habit of eating human flesh had not ended. Investigations revealed they had devoured the remains of over 150 bodies. Mourners visiting graves often complained that they weren't sure whether their loved one's body was even still buried. Under police pressure, more chilling facts came to light. The brothers used to cook human meat as curry and eat it with bread or rice. This case forced Pakistani law enforcement and the judiciary to seriously reconsider how to address such unspeakable crimes, and what kind of punishment could possibly fit such horrifying acts. Finally, in 2015, a verdict was delivered. Both brothers were sentenced to 12 years in prison. This means they will remain incarcerated until 2027 or 2028. The disturbing question now is, when they are released, will they return to their horrific habit of cannibalism? So that was the true story, one that brings shame to humanity itself. It's a tale so unsettling that it may linger in our minds for days to come. And if you think this was shocking, have you heard about the case involving an army colonel who murdered his wife and packed her body parts into a tiffin box? That horrifying incident shook the entire nation of India. To find out more, click on the video and watch now. I'll see you there. Don't forget to subscribe.